College football looks a lot different than it used to in many ways. One of the most drastic changes has been with conferences. Now you have schools like Cal, Stanford, and SMU playing in the ACC, Oregon, UCLA, and USC playing in the Big Ten, and then Arizona and Arizona State playing in the Big 12. None of this makes a whole lot of sense, to be honest, but it's just sort of the state of college football right now, and I guess we're going to have to get used to it. This all started about a decade and a half ago with the SEC, and after all of this, we saw the death of one of the main power conferences in the Pac-12. But currently, they are trying to reboot, and as we push into mid-June of 2025, it looks like the new Pac-12 is finally coming together. For those of you who have been paying attention to conference realignment, you know the Pac-12 is going to look a lot different. Ever since the original Pac-12 exploded a couple of years ago, they've been in a really precarious position in terms of whether or not they would survive. USC and UCLA started the movement when they joined the Big Ten, followed by Colorado going back to the Big 12, plus a couple of others. The main factor in all of this is that they didn't want to expand, and bad leadership wasn't setting them up for success with a solid enough television deal. After that became apparent, the whole thing just fell apart. Oregon and Washington joined, USC and UCLA went to the Big Ten, and of course, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado went to the Big 12. Stanford and Cal left to go to the ACC, leaving just Washington State and Oregon State all on their own. This is really sad, as both of those programs are starting to get a little bit better, especially Oregon State. But in today's video, I want to talk about the new Pac-12. What schools are going to be in it? What is the current state of this conference? But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's go ahead and get started and talk about the new Pac-12. Okay, so at one point there was some steam that there'd be a full merger between the two remaining members of the Pac-12, Washington State and Oregon State, and the Mountain West. But it soon became apparent that the Mountain West was then trying to add Washington State and Oregon State instead of letting the reverse merger happen. Because of that, the two remaining schools, with a lot of money left over from some lawsuits, decided to invite Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State to join the Pac-12. Utah State soon decided to get proactive and join later, and then Gonzaga came in for all sports except for football. This left the Mountain West and the Pac-12 in a legal battle, which is currently still going on, and also added UTEP from Conference USA, as well as adding UC Davis and Grand Canyon as non-football members, plus Northern Illinois of all schools as a football-only member. But the real question is, what will the Pac-12 look like, since it's generally considered that they'd like to get to 8 football members, and currently only have 7 because of the Zags. While there were pushes to get schools like Tulane, Memphis, UTSA, and USF, they did not come to fruition, at least at this point in time. The word going around is that the most likely addition here would be Texas State down in San Marcos, Texas, which would mean the Pac-12 would have teams in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California, Utah, Colorado, and Texas. They've pretty clearly lost Power 5 recognition, but they still want to make themselves a conference of schools that punch above their weight and are the best group of 6. Here's your guide to all the schools in the new Pac-12 as of the start of June. So the first team is Boise State. Boise's main draw is that they're a football powerhouse that consistently places amongst the best in the group of 5, and they're good enough to outweigh their small media market and poor history in other sports. Honestly, if their education quality was any better, they might have gotten an invite to the Big 12 or even the Pac-12, but I guess that sucks. Instead, by waiting, they instantly became the main football power in the new Pac-12. They have a strong fan base and a brand built up as one of the most consistent programs in the country, and they even managed to pull in an occasional 4-star recruit. Originally starting as a JUCO team back in 1933, the Broncos have an all-time record of 503, 188, and 2, or around 73%, making them one of the winningest schools in football history in terms of percentage. They've won 13 of 22 bowl games, including 3 Fiesta Bowls, and even made the college football playoff last year. Outside of football, though, they struggle, as their best sport is women's gymnastics. The men's basketball program has had their moments, and they are improving under Leon Rice, but they haven't won a tournament game since 1976, and that's their only postseason win in history. We'll see if they keep improving, but for now, they're a one-trick pony, and they're really good at that one trick. So the second school is the Colorado State Rams. They've consistently been seen as one of the top group of 5 schools in the nation with a lot of potential to grow, but they haven't been able to put it together into a larger conference until the Pac-12 needed them to backfill. The main reason for that is their football program. They have an all-time record of 548, 620, and 33, or just 47%, and a bowl record of just 6 and 12. This last year in 2024 under Jay Norvell, the Rams would go 8-4 in the regular season and went to their first bowl game since 2017. They haven't won a bowl game since 2013 when they won the New Mexico Bowl, and their best coach in history, Sonny Lubbock, coached from 1993 to 2007 and had 108 wins. He went 3-6 in bowls and also won the WAC and Mountain West 3 times each. While Colorado State is still a football program on the rise, their basketball program has had much better luck. The team has made the Sweet 16 twice and the Elite 8 once, and recently won the Mountain West postseason tournament. They have an all-time winning percentage of 51%, and they made a couple of good recent hires, and they're now led by Ali Farouk-Ganesh, who had that crazy shot with Northern Iowa when they beat Kansas about 15 years ago in the tournament. That's mind-boggling to me. Okay, so the third school we need to talk about is Fresno State. Like Colorado State, Fresno State has been seen as a school with a lot of potential, but their path to the Power Conference was majorly hindered by the fact that there are 4 other Power 5 schools in the state of California to contend with, as well as San Diego State, who's also a really good program. Fresno became one of 2 California programs in the new Pac-12, sharing it with the Aztecs. Fresno State is a sneakily good baseball school, having won the 2008 College World Series, but of course their main sport is football. Former guys like Derek Carr and Devontae Adams helped keep the Bulldogs at the top of the Mountain West, but they've been seen as a contender for much longer than that. They did just sign Matt Entz from North Dakota State to be their head coach after he'd been a linebackers coach at USC, but the Bulldogs' all-time record is 651, 451-27, and they're 17-14 all-time in bowl games. They've won 28 conference titles, and their football stadium seats just over 40,000 people, and range at what Boise State and Colorado State have. They should be another team that gets really good after a little bit. Okay, so the fourth school, we need to talk about Gonzaga. A little while ago, I made a video on college programs who dropped their football teams and why, and Gonzaga is a big program on that list. After football shuttered back in 1941, the team poured resources into other sports, and obviously, they blew up in men's basketball. Gonzaga will be the second program in the state of Washington, so obviously there will be a rivalry there with Washington State, but the Zags enter the conference immediately as probably the biggest brand because of their basketball success. They have an all-time winning percentage of 67% and are coached by one of the best in the business in Mark Few, who's been there for close to 30 years. In that time frame, Gonzaga won the WCC over 20 times and made the Final Four twice. Of Gonzaga's 1,426 all-time wins, Coach Few has over half of them with 742, and as long as he's there, the Zags will be one of, if not the best teams in the conference. But they lack in other sports. I don't think they're ever going to add football again, and they were once affiliate members of the Pac-10 in baseball from 1982 to 1995, but they never won that conference, and they have not made a push for the College World Series. One of the 2 remaining Power Conference programs left in the Pac-12 is Oregon State, and they are an underrated football program as they actually have a Heisman winner in Terry Baker, which was all the way back in 1962. Despite that, they might be one of the most consistently unlucky programs of all time, as they have an all-time record of 569, 629, and 50, with a bowl record of 12-8, and 7 conference titles, their last of which came back in 2000. They've remained unlucky over the last few years, especially when their head coach Jonathan Smith, who played for Oregon State as a quarterback, decided to jump ship to Michigan State once it became clear the Pac-12 was going to collapse. He took one of Oregon State's highest rated recruits ever in Aiden Childs at quarterback, leaving Oregon State to have to pick up the pieces on their own. They are honestly not a great football brand in 2025 despite some decent runs, and they're not really good at basketball either. They have a 56% winning percentage in basketball, but did make the Elite 8 in 2021 and also made a Final Four in the 1960s. Their primary sport is baseball, as they have 3 national championships, all since 2006, and are consistently one of the best teams in college baseball. Okay, so we have 3 more teams to talk about, and the first one is San Diego State. Like Boise and Fresno, San Diego State's path to Power Conference was always capped with the state of California being crowded. After some original flirtation with the Pac-12 before it collapsed, and years of conversation with the Big 12, they jumped on the opportunity to finally join the Pac-12 in 2026. They've consistently been one of the better athletic departments in the Group of 5 over the last few years, and should instantly become contenders in this new Pac-12 in just about every sport. In football, the Aztecs are 596, 455, and 32, with 3 claimed Division II national titles and a 10-10 bowl record. They are currently rebuilding under Sean Lewis, after a bad couple of seasons with Brady Hoke, and before that, a great stretch under Rocky Long. In basketball, they went to the national championship a few years ago and joined a roster of sneaky good programs like Colorado State and Utah State. In baseball, the Aztecs have made the tournament field 14 times, but haven't made the tournament since 2018. Honestly, I really like this team. Up next, we need to talk about Utah State, who made the proactive choice to jump to the Pac-12 before any other schools had the opportunity after the first 4 were invited, and since then they've been the last Mountain West school to make the lifeboat before the grant of rights was signed. They've historically been overshadowed by both BYU and Utah in the state, but have a fairly strong athletics history that does span multiple sports. In football, the Aggies have won 574 games and lost 568, and have gone 6-11 in bowls. They've also had some bad luck with coaches, as Gary Anderson and Matt Wells led the team to Mountain West titles before leaving for Power 4 jobs. Blake Anderson led the team to an 11-3 record in 2021, before then getting fired. They recently hired Bronco Mendenhall in 2025, who was the head coach at New Mexico last year. But the Aggies are mostly a basketball school, as they've won 60% of their games all time and have made 2 Elite Eights in their history. They won the Mountain West a handful of times, including in 2024, and are considered one of the best mid-major programs in college basketball. Okay, so our final school is Washington State. They are the last team we're going to look at, and they're one of the other Power Conference teams left behind, alongside the Beavers. Wazoo's location is in Pullman, Washington, which is close to the Idaho border, and their reputation as an agricultural school have kept them fairly low-key throughout the realignment spectrum. But they're one of the most underrated athletics programs in college sports, especially in football. Most people know Washington State football because of the couple years under Mike Leach, with quarterbacks like Luke Falk, Anthony Gordon, and Gardner Minshew. Coach Leach would arrive in Pullman after being chased out of Lubbock, and would eventually go to Mississippi State, and then tragically passed away. All time, the Cougars hover around 500, but Coach Leach went 55-47 over 8 years, even pushing for a college football playoff spot back in 2018. They're 8-11 in bowl games, and even have a national title in 1915, but they just don't claim it. They won the Pac-12 in 2002, and they did enjoy some success under Jake Dickert, but he left for Wake Forest, leaving South Dakota State head coach Jimmy Rogers in the head coaching chair. Weirdly enough, both Oregon State and Washington State will have some of the smallest stadiums in the new Pac-12, with Wazoo's Martin Stadium only reaching 35,000. In basketball, the Cougs had a great stretch in the 1970s and did make the tournament in 2024, but have only made the tournament 3 times since the 2000s, most notably with Klay Thompson. Yeah, Washington State's a little bit underwater right now, but I think this new Pac-12 is going to be intriguing. I'm sure they're going to add 1 to 3 more schools, and probably try to get that number to 8 to 10 for football. But for now, it's going to be intriguing, and basketball will also be interesting to watch. But what do you guys think? Who is your favorite new program in the Pac-12? Which school should they add? And what topic should I do in my next video? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.